So I have a project coming up where I'm going to need a finger brake. So I made one. You can build one little or nothing. This one here was on the nothing side, just scrap metal I had laying around. Even the paint was old paint I had laying around. So come on, let's build one. So for starters, this press is only, the arbor opening here is 22 3/8. I'm going to go somewhere between 22 and 22 1/4, just to make sure I got room to slide that in and out. And then to the bottom of these plates here, or the top of these plates, the bottom of that, it's only about 5 inches. So I have to have it built with a jaw opening for that metal to slide in, just maybe an inch, because I'm not going to bend anything even close to an inch. But I'll give me an inch gap to work with, and all of that needs to be able to fit in that 5-inch space with the bar and the breaker piece at the bottom. And I also have only about 10 inches up inside of here. It's less than that. It's like 8 3/4 there, 10 and 1/8. So there, up inside here. So that gives me a little more room for stanchions for that slide to go in. And there's a little gap here maybe I can use. So we'll see. But I've got just a limited amount of space here to work with. So we should be able to do that. And let's go figure it out. All right, I'm going to start out with this for my base. This is 1x2 and about 1/8 of an inch thick. I'll cut piece 22 inches long. And then I'll take a chunk of this angle iron. It's 1 1/8, and it's about an 8-inch thick. And I'll cut a piece of that, lay that in there, and I'll wind up just welding this in. I'll figure out what I want for space here. And what I'm thinking is I'll take a couple pieces like this, and that'll give me a gap that my brake can slide in and slide up and down in. What I'm thinking. I've got a chunk of this 3x3. It's a 1/4 inch thick. I'm going to use that for the brake, and I'll wind up just lopping off a chunk. Well, I will wind up just cutting this off, leaving a little bit of a shoulder on it to help stability and give me a top to press on. So I'll get this cut out and figure out the space I need for that angle iron in here. And I'll have to do a little fancy work here, because I'll probably recess this onto that, into that. So let me do some cutting, and we'll get that figured out. Okay, so I gave myself, I did like I was saying here, I notched this here. I notched this so that I can recess that into that bracket. And I gave myself a little bit more than enough room here to do these. And I cut those brackets already, these pieces here. So what I'm going to do, let me center this up, and I'll tack this in, and then we can build off of that. Yeah. Okay, so I already cut this piece. Kind of an ugly cut. But so what I did was, figuring that this is going to slide between two of these, I notched that so that I got plenty of clearance. And then I made this long enough to reach both sides, so it's the same width as this base. And to make sure I don't make it too tight, because I want it floating really good, I cut just a couple pieces of shims, just cardstock. And I'll set that in here on both sides of that. So it'll go like that. And all I have to do now is just make sure that I got all this square, so this press brake slides up and down in this channel good. So I will just kind of sandwich that. And I'll just make sure I got that fairly flush against there. And just for ha-has, what I'll do towards the top here is when I get this all done, I'll drill a hole through these two plates, put a spacer in there, probably a nut, I don't know, whatever's the right thickness. And then I can clamp this together, which will make this nice and rigid. That way that brake won't try to twist on me and bend these tabs. It should tie them in pretty good. Okay, so I got that tacked in. What I want to do now, just kind of square them up. Come on. Just kind of square these guys up. I'll do the same over here. Okay, so this is how this is going to work. It's going to slide up and down. I only need it to open this far. So these might be too tall. I cut them to the height of that opening. These are 8 inches. But that press plate's going to have to come down. And I don't know how much clearance I'm going to have here. So I might have to either shorten these up or maybe just notch this here so that C channel on that upper piece will clear. I don't know that it's wide enough, and certainly it's got to come down a ways. So, well, let's just test it in there and see. All right, so that's what I'm thinking here. Like that. But I need to make sure this is going to come down. Looks like the plate right here, this little bracket right here, is going to hit that. So I mean, maybe I'll just notch that. Then I can taper it, and that'll help keep this thing centered. And there's just over an inch there. 1 1/8 inches. Was that going to be enough? Oh yeah. It's not a, I was shooting for 1 inch. Try that. Shooting for 1 inch, and it's only 1/2 inch. But it's still probably not going to be bent in 1/2 inch steel. So it's going to be like 3/8 at the thickest probably. Maybe not even that. Maybe 1/4. So that'll probably work. We'll figure it out. Okay. So that's going to work really good. But I need to put something here in the center. I was looking for a piece of tubing, and I don't seem to have a piece of tubing big enough for that to set in that arbor. I have a chunk of this, which I can do the same thing, or pretty close to the same thing. What I was thinking is I'd just drill a hole here, front and back, and tap it, or weld a nut on there, whatever I need to do, to be able to clamp this to that arbor post. And if I put that on here, then I can do that. But if I do that, I lose that 1/8 inch I'll lose that 8 inch here. So I think I'll just go ahead and go this route. And if I'm struggling with space, maybe I can find some thinner base plates to put underneath it. Or if I have to, I'll drop that rest down a little lower to that next drop, which is what, 5 inches more, which I'll lose that and the jack. But we'll see. Either way, I can space it up or put that down. So I'll go ahead and do this. I'll set this back in, center this up where I want it, and then I can tack that in. I think I might drill and tap this first, and then I can clamp this on, put the press down, and tack it in place that way. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so one thing to note right off the bat, it's a little bit wobbly. The table's a little wobbly. This is just a little wobbly. I think we'll be okay once we clamp this press to, or the brake to the press stanchion here. So I'm going to do that. Try to center these set screws where I want them. Tighten those up just for fun. Those may be a little too long. I can shorten them up. All right. So I'll weld that on there and take it apart and weld everything up. Everything's just tacked together right now. But I'll get this welded on. We'll weld everything else up, and we'll try to bend something. All right. Now with that lift. Okay. Well, that lifted. Got a chunk of 3/16. Oh yeah, that'll fit in there. So I can do thicker than that. 3/8. I can't get 3/8 in there. Almost. I got some thinner pieces of steel I could put underneath here. Maybe I can get 3/8 in there. Let's try that. All right, and I get 3/8 in there. Oh, I can barely get 3/8. So 3/8 would be the max I can put in there at the way it's set up, which I don't know that I can bend thicker than 3/8. Maybe. But I can always change something here. Shorten up this arbor, or what do you want to call that? The shaft. So I could shorten up this shaft. Might be the easiest thing to do if this works out. So anyhow, I'll get her pulled out and weld it up and try bending something. All right, time for a test. I got a little chunk of 1/4-inch steel. See if we can get that bent. Bent. And it stayed. I can get it out of there. Hey, how about that? Boy, it looks like a perfect 45 too. Hey, this thing turned out great. I'm excited to use it. Hey, whenever you have the opportunity or the means, make your own tools. You'll save a lot of money. It's a lot of fun, and you feel good about it. So give it a try. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch up with you later. Bye.